Hello, everyone, and welcome to the pre-season 23-24 podcast with myself and Michael Holland of Crossend Away. And we're joined by the men's first team manager, Neil Young. Neil, how are you?
Hello, how are we, mate? You okay? I'm doing well, thanks, mate. Yeah, busy, but doing okay.
That's it. How was your summer?
Well, as you know, it's been busy from a football perspective. Just had a short break with the family. Now back and getting ready to go for, obviously, the start of the football season.
Well, we're all excited to get started, and we're only a few days away from a trip to Gainsborough Trinity to get us started. What's the feeling in the camp ahead of the season beginning?
Yeah, I think everyone's looking forward to it. Obviously, it's a fairly new group in the main, so it takes a little bit of time for people to get to know each other, get to know me and the staff, how we work, what our expectations are. But pre-season has been good. It's probably been a little bit, in terms of games, it's probably been a little bit quieter than probably usual. But yeah, particularly on, I've lost track of the days now, but the last pre-season friendly, Friday night, I thought we'd done really well.
Yeah, it was a really good second half performance, I thought.
Yeah, we're trying to change the way we play, as you can probably tell. It's in its infancy in terms of trying to keep the ball a little bit more. I thought last year we went long too early. This year we're trying to play a little bit more if we can, particularly on the surface that we've got, and particularly with the players that we've brought in. The Finns, the Sols, the Manis. They're the type of players that want the ball into feet. They don't want to be, every ball to be a fight ball. So, we're trying to get after teams on the press if we can. I know it's the in thing now, and it's easy to say. It's a lot more difficult to put into practice properly. So we've been doing a lot of work on that. And as I say, we're doing work on basically trying to look after the ball a bit better. We're not going to suddenly, start dropping into boxes and rolling balls out and things like that. But we are trying to, keep the ball a bit better, and hopefully, we've got to work on the final bit, which is the final third. But that's what we're looking to do.
Just want to obviously speak about players that are left. Just three in particular. I want to talk about just Barrigan, obviously Pazins and Josso and Davis. Just a word on them, because obviously they've been here since obviously the cup run, haven't they? And how difficult was it? Because it's not like getting rid of a player after one season. They've been there for a very long time. So how difficult of a decision was that for you as a manager, really?
It's always difficult. Whatever football club you're at, it's always difficult getting rid of people who've done well for you and good people. It's never an easy decision. It's never the decision that's taken lightly. I've got to look at the whole of where I'm looking to take the football club. Everyone who's played for Marine, particularly the lads who've been there for, a fair length of time, as you've said. And I think Mark Howarth was probably the last lad to leave us that was part of the promotion squad. Have all done fantastic for the football club, all done fantastic for me. And as I say, telling lads, will that be one season? Will that be for 3-4 seasons? That you're looking at going a different way, etc. All you can do, try and is be honest with them. I think you've got a duty to tell them, either on the phone or face to face. Most lads now prefer the phone, because if it's going to be a negative, they don't really want to be brought 20-30 mile, to be told. So all you can do, you'd expect people to be disappointed, but at the end of the day, football management's a tough industry at whatever level you're at. It's not a nice job when you've got to do the horrible bits. But what I will say is, as you just said, is them lads who've been here a long time, and as I say, the lads who've only been here a short time, have all done well for me and all done well for Marine Football Club.
One player who you've brought in, who sadly we're not going to get to see now, is Matty Brown, who we thought it was a hell of a coup to bring him in. Unfortunately, he's decided, due to injury, he's going to make the decision now, which fair play to him this early on, that he's going to retire with immediate effect. For you, what was the thinking behind bringing Matty in, and how does his decision impact on you as the manager with your plans?
Well, I was trying to bring Matty in towards the end of last year, to be honest, probably from around New Year onwards. Matty has played for a very short time when I was caretaker manager at Halifax, played for me there then, and I got the sense of how good he is around the dressing room, not just in terms of what he is as a player, but what he was around the dressing room. And I did think, as part of the the way we were going to work this year, we need more character in the dressing room, more senior players, more lads who played at a high level if we could. And in many ways, signing Matty has achieved what I wanted to achieve. I was hoping, it's always been difficult to find a good senior pro to break the mould of why is he gone to Marine sort of thing, to attract other players. So we managed to bring Matty in, and who knows, off the back of signing Matty, who else? Obviously Liam Nolan obviously played with Matty last year, so we managed to bring Liam in as well, and so that was the thought process behind it, not just in terms of his ability as a footballer, we know that, but his character, his leadership skills, and what he is as a person. You only have to look at the decision that he's made here. He was on a contract, and we had a good discussion last week, Thursday, I think it was, and Matty, was first to say, I don't want to be sat here taking money, from the football club when I'm not going to be able to be fit for a long time. And the key thing for him was that, he left with immediate effect, and not took any of his contract, teared his contract up and moved on. But the thought process behind it was not just around his ability; it was his leadership skills, what he is, what he's done in the game, to try and break the mould, because it has been difficult in the past to try and attract the not the better caliber, but the more senior players, the lads who've been around the block a little bit and have seen it, and I think that's what we need within the squad.
Yeah, obviously, it's been a few months since the season's finished. How would you reflect, obviously, of the season last season? I mean, the start was a bit slow, then in the middle we did really well, and then obviously the end and not so well. So how would you reflect, like, personally, as how it went?
Apart from the actual final results, in terms of we finished, was it 8th in the league or 9th? It virtually mirrored, I thought, probably the previous season in many ways. I know the previous season we got to the playoffs and ultimately got promoted, but in different start, good starts, very good period. And then Christmas came, we got a lot of injuries. After Christmas, New Year, we didn't know what we had from one week to the next, from one training session to the next. It was very difficult, but you've got to try and, keep going. You've got to try and get players fit, try and get players in. But the problem we had is it was the top end of the pitch. We were running out of players. We brought Louis Britton in. He done well for us for a spell, but obviously then got a hamstring problem, which is a recurring hamstring problem. And then we were left really with Sol carrying the can. There's only so long, Sol could carry that fight on his own. We were just short a little bit. Short a lot, I thought, because of the injuries that we had. You only have to look at the number of injuries. I think on the last day we played, I counted 16. Now, if you've got 16 injuries in a football squad, then you've got serious problems. So, I think that was what came out of it. Disappointed, if I'm honest, because I do think we could have achieved more, and that's probably why I made the decisions that I've made in the summer. To see if we can kick on this year.
I was just going to touch on that. Actually, did the ending of the season, like the way it ended, have a big bearing about the amount of changes you did make, obviously, in the summer?
Didn't have a great bearing. I think the period from Christmas, New Year time to the end of the season had a bearing, because ultimately I'm employed by the football club, so I've got to improve, not just the football club, I've got to improve the team. So to do that, you've got to make significant change. I've done it before. I've built teams before. And so to be able to do that on the budgets and the financials, you have to let players go to bring players in. As I said earlier, as a football manager, people might think big sort of ogre or whatever, but it's a hard decision. It's difficult. It's not nice. Anyone who does like doing it must be crazy, because I don't, particularly with good people. But you've got to make them decisions, and I get employed by the football club to manage a football team, and I've got to make them big decisions. People mightn't like them, people might agree with them, but that's why I'm at the club, and that's why I'm currently the football manager, to make them decisions.
with the summer, and you say all these decisions that have been made, of course, it wasn't just on the pitch as well. Your backroom staff has seen a change as well. What difference now will Fraser Ablett bring to the team as opposed to what Alan had?
Not quite sure at the moment. Fraser's in its infancy in terms of working with us. Got a good pedigree. He's worked at Warrington Rylands successfully. You know, he won the FA Vars, got numerous promotions. You know, so we're looking forward to working with Fraser. Alan done fantastic. You know, for me, done fantastic for the football club. It's just a decision that I thought I had to make at that time. And then, you know, bringing Fraser in, I'm sure he'll do really well for us.
Yeah. Obviously, you signed. I was interested in this actually. You signed a new contract in April, and you mentioned that when you signed your contract 2020, you was obviously planning to either retire or leave. You know what I mean? So was it that's changed for you as for the club to obviously stay on?
To be honest, I think, I don't know if I've said this on here or I've said it somewhere, that my plan was at the end of this current contract, or the contract I was in, was to potentially finish that contract and then maybe look at going upstairs somewhere if that was possible, on a board of directors or sporting director or something like that. If I was successful to get a job, but then when I've looked at it, I've seen, you know, what we've achieved. I remember coming in and obviously I came in the middle of the season when obviously the club got relegated, and I think, you know, let's not hide away from it. There's a few people who thought at that time I shouldn't be in the job in the next season, for whatever reason. But you know, that's football. It's tough for the players. It's also tough as a manager. But following year, obviously mixed in with COVID, we had the FA Cup run, and then off the back of that, I don't know, irrespective of what we've done on the pitch, I think James Leary, Paul, Dave McMillan will tell you the amount of work, you know, I've done away from the club to look at the football area of how we work as a club. You know, and I'll let them vouch for how much work's been done. You know, that they'll tell you, I know how much work's been done, and I'm sure they'll vouch for it as well. And I just thought at that time, you know, the budget was going to be increased this season as we agreed. You know, based on, you know, the changes that the club made with the new bars and the new pitch. So I thought, now I've done the hard work, well, not the hard work, but the harder work. Why now hand that over to somebody else to enjoy the fruits of our labour, you know? And that was the main thought process behind it. But also the main thought process behind it, I enjoy it. You know, you're not going to do something you don't enjoy. I certainly wouldn't do something I don't enjoy. I still think I've got a lot to do here at the football club. I think there's still a lot to achieve. I think we can achieve a lot together. The gates have increased. Our popularity as a club has increased. We're now attracting, you know, lads who've played in the league, lads who've played in the National League, you know, and hopefully that'll continue. And hopefully my plan always has been, probably for the last 8 months, was to break that mould, and because, you know, I'm probably going to miss somebody here, but in terms of senior players, in terms of regular players, it's probably Niall is the only one really that we managed to get down, and to, you know, a name from a higher senior player, from a higher level for a long period of time. Obviously we had Ravo, and obviously we brought Dunny since, and Luke Clark came, but in terms of over a long period, Niall Cummins, who again played that, done fantastic for the football club, you know, is the only one really we've been able to bring from higher, that people go, you know, why is he gone there? That there's a sign in there, and that's what we're looking to do, to bring more senior players in, more experience, to help the younger lads, but also to change the dynamic of the dressing room. I think it's the best way of putting it.
And just to add on that, how do you see the development of the club? Obviously, since you, as you just mentioned there, you joined in 2018. How do you see that development in the first 4 years of 4 or 5 years you've been here?
I can only talk about what I've seen. I think development of the football club is chalk and cheese, if I'm honest. From what I came into, if I just look at the football side now, to where it is today, as I say, it's chalk and cheese. I think if you speak to people around the football club, I think there's a lot of processes changed. I think you guys probably see it more than anyone. You've been at the football club a lot longer. You've seen the changes through many years. I'm sure I don't know, I don't speak for you. I'm sure you'll say that the changes in the last 2 or 3 years have probably been the biggest changes you've seen for a long period of time, in terms of, not from an infrastructure perspective, because we can all see the pitch and the bars. I think from a process perspective, the engagement perspective, community, but more so, the players that we're trying to bring to the club, and and how we're working from a recruitment process.
Speaking of the recruitment process, certainly the saga of the summer has been the goalkeeping situation, which has certainly had people talking, and not always positively, if we're being honest. But we understand that Felix Goddard was always the first choice for you. How did that come about? Why did it take so long to get over the line? Was it a very difficult process in the end to get done?
It might have been a saga for the people outside. It wasn't a saga for me. I was fairly comfortable with it. If I'm honest, I knew where we were with it. I knew what the issues were when you're signing a young player from a football league club, well, a championship club. Let's get it right. Who's highly regarded. It's not a quick, easy thing to do. There's things that we have to wait on. Obviously, the football league clubs didn't come back till probably middle of July. As you know, with goalkeepers, they needed in and around the place. Felix just signed a new contract, so that's all, to 2025. That's all in the mix. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 other clubs showing interest, and I think Blackburn will vouch for this. He was always my first choice, has been since the end of the season into pre-season. I'm just glad we finally got to do it before the season started, to give Felix an opportunity to play at the ground in front of the fans, but also to play with the lads. And then he's obviously trained with us tomorrow and Thursday. I think he's a great keeper, give us great dimension in terms of how we play, not just in terms of his goalkeeping, but playing out as well. His feet are very good, and he's always been, as you say, he's always been the first choice. And I was not going to give up such an important position. I was not going to give up on that first choice until it was not going to happen, and that was never put to me. So, we look forward to working with him.
Yeah, there seems to be like a shift in signings this season, doesn't it? Like higher profile, as you just mentioned, higher profile players. Is that down to like a bigger budget? Is it down to me doing so well last season? What's your opinion?
Let's not lie. The budget's gone up. I've said that. The club. I said last year. Bringing players in wasn't about the financial elements. The club, I had funds there, and I give a number of them funds, playing budget funds, back to the football club. I'm not going to say how much, but we did, because it's pointless just bringing anybody in. And the problem that we had is what I was saying earlier, was trying to bring the players in that would make a difference for us. It wasn't just so that's why we needed to change that. How we had to try and get 1 or 2 lads in who had played higher, to try and get others to follow if we could. We financially we've got a better budget. We can do it financially. Obviously, we're not going to be silly, but what we've got to do is, my big thing was to get more experience, more leadership skills, which is usually linked to experience, if I'm honest, and lads who played higher, to mix in with some good younger players, like we've always done. We're not coming away from what we've done, but if we're going to compete, you only have to look at Macclesfield and now in the league, and the way the other teams, your Radcliffes, your Guisleys, I can probably sit here and name another 3 or 4, have strengthened. If we're going to compete, and the expectation of the fan base is for us to be in and around the promotion areas, you've got to look to make. We finished 8th last year, or 9th. We won the Liverpool Senior Cup, obviously, which was fantastic. But to compete week in, week out, we needed to make additions to the squad.
Just touch on one sign as well. Is there obviously Finn Sinclair Smith? I mean, how big of a coup do you think that was? Because obviously he's near the top goal scorers. I mean, I heard myself that he willing to get back in the football league. So, how good is that for you? So he sees Marine to be the place to get there, really.
It's a massive coup. But as you said before, as we spoke before, so there was, these transfers aren't quick. So you talk about the Felix one. Finn's was a longer one because, as you say, good players, lots of interest. So it's not easy to to get them over the line. But what a player, and I've seen it. We had Finn when I first arrived, and I remember taking him to Brackley, and he probably thought, what's happened there? And he scored 2 goals, and he was a young lad then, probably 18. But now he's developed into a really good player at Bamber Bridge. His knowledge of the game, his willingness, his training. He wants to do well, which is always key in a young player. But I see skills in him, and it's not just his ability. It's also his willing. He wants to do well, which is half the battle. It's probably more than half the battle. He asks questions. He asks good questions. He wants to do well. So to be able to bring him to the football club, you say massive coup. I think it is. I think he's a fantastic player. As you say, one of the leading goal scorers in the league. Darius, I think, was one of the leading goal scorers in the league. Yeah. South Shields leading goal scorers. Sol, obviously, one of the leading goal scorers in the league, and certainly our leading goal scorer. And I think, as I said earlier, big part of what we were trying to achieve this year is we need more firepower, more goals, and we've been trying to do that. Bringing Russi in as well, and obviously Manas gives us all them options.
Speaking of the firepower, another area as well that has done really well is not just the retention of Wardle and Spittle, but then to add in as well Doyle into this. What sort of qualities does Chris Doyle bring to the back, to the defence and to the club as well?
Well, Chris was here when I first arrived at the football club. He done really well for us. Struggling a little bit at times with injury, but then he's gone off and obviously gone to FC United in this league, and then got a move to Chorley, I think, and then Southport had a very good season at Southport. Scored goals from centre back. I think he got 8 or 9 goals last year from centre back. He's a local lad, and again with Chris, the big thing for me is how much he wants to come back to the football club. He's a Marine lad. He's well liked. He's well known around the area. And the first thing for me was how much he wanted to play for the football club, which was key. And then obviously, his football will do the talking. He's a fantastic footballer. Again, he's played higher. He comes back to us now 4 or 5 years older, with lots more experience. And as you say, with Josh and Johnny, gives us a good defensive 3. Although now Matty's left, I am looking to add in that area.
Yeah, just wanted to ask actually about obviously the money in the NPL now. Obviously, when you first joined to what you see now, in your opinion, has it gone like totally up now? Because obviously, you see teams like Radcliffe spending a lot of money, and Workshop are spending money, aren't they? So how does it compare really to the past 4 or 5 years?
We don't know what people are spending. They're signing good players, and obviously that usually good. But at the end of the day, I've always said, don't worry about budgets. It's if people have got money, then good luck to them. You've got to try and spend that money well and bring good players in, and then as a manager, you've got to try and get them to play. But if people have got, I don't get too bogged down in budgets. It's pointless. It's pointless saying, oh, they've got more money than me, or they've got this and they've got that. Start worrying about that, you'll quickly cause yourself anxiety. Believe me. At the end of the day, people will have what they've got. They'll put the best teams and squads together that they can. And it's not just the players in all this. The NPL, not only in football in general, is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Not just in terms of the players, but the management. Some of the managers now in this league, phenomenal managers. Who've all done it at high levels, all won leagues, all won trophies, promotions. So it's more and more difficult. But more and more difficult means tactically you've got to work harder. Recruitment-wise, you've got to work harder. But more importantly, you've got to do the best you can for your team, and don't worry about it. As I said earlier, what people have got and what they haven't got, nothing to do with me. I've just got to concentrate on my own team.
With your team as well, looks like it's going to be another season full of high attendances. The club have announced 450 season tickets sold. What do you anticipate will be the expectation of your squad going into the new season?
I think the expectation of us all is like anything when you kick a season off, is to try and win the league. You know, our aim is to try and win the league. You know, we can, not going to be sitting here saying, oh, you know, stay in it. At the end of the day, we finished 8th and 9th, higher expectations than probably, sorry, higher finish than what people probably expected. But then you get to Christmas and people thinking, hang on a minute, you know, we could do, you know, we could make the playoffs, we could do this, we could do that. We tailed off. So our expectation is to win the league. You know, I'm sure Macclesfield and Guiseley and Radcliffe and all those teams that we've spoken about, and probably loads more, Bamber Bridge, you know, have all got the same expectation. All we can do is work as hard as we can with the lads that we've got. What we have got is a good group. We want to work hard, technically and tactically. You know, so we'll do everything we can to be the best version of us that we can. And I'm sure the supporters are really looking forward to it. And I'm sure once the first game gets up and running, and FC United's a good one at home to start, I think that hopefully that 450 will rise again. But you know, that season tickets, when I first arrived at the club, I think 350 was probably the average gate.
Yeah, it was.
Just obviously on reflection, obviously since you've been here, obviously the cup run, you won promotion back after relegation. You know, top 10 finishing, we spoke, and obviously winning senior cup for the first time since 2008. I mean, how do you reflect on obviously all them achievements? You know, in a short space of time, really.
I'm proud of what we've achieved. You know, I'm proud of what we've achieved on the back of what happened when we first got here. But you know, it's a lot of hard work from a lot of people. You know, we've just mentioned them, you know, before. You know, in terms of the committee and everything, but obviously all the players that have played for us in that time, you know, have done fantastic for us. The staff, you know, we mentioned before, all the staff that have come through in that time. Everyone's worked so hard to achieve what we've achieved. But in football, like any industry, you've got to keep evolving. And that evolution in terms of what we do as a team, I think the football side of how we work is definitely on the right track. The proof will be in the pudding if the evolution of the team is correct, and that's what I'm here to do. And you know, results will dictate if I've got it right or I've got it wrong. But you know, also experience dictates that. Don't get me wrong, on some occasions and the number of occasions I've got it wrong, but on a lot more occasions I've got it right. And all you can do is back yourself with your staff, with your players, you know, to try and be successful.
Speaking of success as well, starting away with Gainsborough Trinity, what's the message to the fans as well, particularly with supporting the team away from home?
Well, the fans last year, and I'm not saying it because I'm on a podcast, I think everyone knows home and away was unbelievable. And as the season got on, you guys might tell me more or different. It seemed that more fans were going away from home. There seemed to be more coaches being booked. I was getting sent videos of different songs going on from different coaches and plenty of alcoholic beverages being drank. But it's very important to the team. You know, I'll be honest, and I think the lads will tell you this once you get to know them as we go through the season. Part of my selling point for the club has been the attendances, the fan base, and where we were and where we're trying to go and what we're doing. You know, I don't hide away from that. And as you say, you know, when you speak to the players or when you get to know them, the newer players, because obviously the lads who are here know, a big selling point for me was where we are as a football club and where we're going and what we have at home in terms of a fan base, season ticket numbers that we currently have, but also our away fan base, and you know, and some of the some of the numbers that we've had travelling away. In Gainsborough, first game of the season, hopefully as many Marine fans as possible will be able to make the journey. It's better than last year when it was Tuesday night, and I think we arrived at 20 to 8 for the quarter-8 kickoff.
So we're excited for Saturday and to get started. But we're happy to wrap that up there, Neil. Is there anything you want to add as well?
Not really, no. I don't think so. Don't think there's any questions that anyone's got, but I think we've covered most areas, lads, haven't we?
Well, thank you very much for your time tonight, Neil. It's really appreciated.
Okay, guys, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you on Saturday. You take care and look after yourself.
Ta-ra, boys. See you Saturday.
See you Saturday.